Oh boy, has it been a busy day for the New York Jets already. We are going to get into it with Joe Douglas speaking at the NFL Draft Scouting Combine and the biggest takeaways from that. If you don't know, I'm Matt O'Leary. Welcome to the channel. Please make sure to subscribe if you are new. All right, so Joe Douglas speaks at the NFL Combine, and he discussed the plan to build along the offensive line. Go figure, this was a major talking point.
Yeah, it's a lot of pieces, but at the same time, we just had some unbelievable meetings with our coaching staff, free agent meetings, and so we feel like particularly, and look, there's three different avenues that we can do this, right? Trade, free agency, and draft. And so going through where we are, the ability, going through the meetings that we just went through, the flexibility, AVT, we feel like there's some guys that can come in and be the right type of fit for us in terms of the intelligence, reliability. There's some good candidates out there that can come in and help us.
Unfortunately, this is something that we've heard for really 6 years at this point. When Joe Douglas first came here, he said, we are going to build along the trenches. And the defensive side of the line is great. It's one of the best defensive lines in football. The offensive line last year was the worst offensive line in football. They are still building the offensive line. And some of it is because of injuries. I get that. I totally understand. But they have not done, moral of the story flat out, they have not done a good enough job with this offensive line. And that's why it's their biggest need going into the 2024 NFL season. And, you know, the free agency now just 2 weeks away. One of the biggest talking points with the Jets offensive line is, what do they do with Alijah Vera-Tucker? Where do they play him? Well, Joe Douglas says that they want to find a spot and then just leave him there.
We don't have any decision on exactly where he's going to line up, but his ability to play four different spots and play four different spots well gives us a lot of flexibility moving forward. Our roster building, O-line building. But the one thing we're going to do this year, we're not going to move AVT around. We're going to have a spot for him and leave him there for the season. AVT's in a great place. Yeah, his rehab's going outstanding. He's in a great place.
So it sounds like they haven't decided on where they want to play Alijah Vera-Tucker yet. My opinion, go out in free agency, sign whoever you're going to sign, go to the draft whoever you're going to draft, and then after that point is when you decide where Alijah Vera-Tucker and Joe Tippmann plays. They both have the ability to play multiple positions and play those positions well. I cannot stand the argument that Alijah Vera-Tucker cannot play a tackle because that's where his Achilles popped, as if his Achilles wouldn't have popped if he was 6 feet over to the left. I don't see the correlation. Yes, it happened at the same position on the same field. We believe that just Denver's cursed? You have about as good of an argument to make that Denver's cursed as you do that he got hurt because he was playing right tackle. It was an unfortunate coincidence both times and two unrelated injuries. But I'm not against playing Alijah Vera-Tucker inside. Don't. If you are able to fill tackle through the draft and free agency, great. And then have AVT play guard, fantastic. What I am advocating for is for the New York Jets to get the best possible 5 guys on the field. And if that's with AVT at guard or tackle, whichever they decide, I am good and comfortable with wherever they decide with both Alijah Vera-Tucker and with Joe Tippmann. Joe Douglas also went on to say that there are no plans to franchise tag Bryce Huff, which is really not a surprise. This is something that has been discussed for a while, that the Jets more than likely were not going to franchise tag Bryce Huff. So here's your reality. He will either be back to the New York Jets or they will lose him in free agency. Those are the only two options that could happen at this point. It's a shame. It's a bummer. I do not want him to leave in free agency. As we discussed yesterday on the channel, according to Connor Hughes, he was on with Jake Asman yesterday live from the NFL Scouting Combine, and he said that he's been hearing that Bryce Huff's market is probably closer to 12 to 14 million than the 15 plus million dollars that many are projecting. If that's the case, I cannot stress this enough. The New York Jets have to find a way to get it done. Period. Stop. If he returns to the New York Jets and is playing 50% of snaps, around that mark, plus or minus 5%, let's say, To me, there is no doubt in my mind that he is going to be a major, major impact guy. He's coming off of a double-digit sack season when he only played 40% of snaps. I think he is someone who is only going to continue to progress because we saw he was productive when he played 20%, and then the argument was the only reason he's so productive is because they limit his snaps, and then his snap percentage doubles, and guess what? He's still one of the most productive edge rushers in the league. If you can get a player of that caliber for in that price range, which in my personal opinion, your opinion, whatever, believe what you want, but in my opinion, I think that is under market value for a player like Bryce Huff. And it's about damn time that the Jets find someone, develop them, sign them for under market value and get a good bang for your buck. That doesn't usually happen. Normally the Jets are way overpaying someone for someone else's project in free agency, and it doesn't work out. So I would really do everything I could to keep Bryce Huff. And last but certainly not least, Zach Wilson's agent has been given permission to seek a trade.
Well, I've had good conversation with his agent, Brian Ariel. Where we are exactly, we've given them permission to talk to other teams about a trade. I'm going to circle back with Brian at some point, either this week or next week, just to see how those conversations go. But other than that, there's nothing else to report.
What kind of trade will we see this offseason? Zach Wilson will not be back with the New York Jets. I don't anticipate him having much of a return. It stinks. I will be the first one to tell you it stinks that this is the second time in a row the Jets have drafted a quarterback in the top 3 and have had to move on from him after 3 years. Again, it really stinks. I did not want that to be the case when they moved on from Sam Darnold. I thought it was the right decision to move on at the time. I fully supported them drafting a quarterback. I was supportive of Zach Wilson getting a look through 2 years to see if he could be the guy. He proved that through 2 years he was not. They went out and got Aaron Rodgers. They didn't get a backup for Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson was forced back in. It didn't go well. I understand he was a little bit better this year than years gone by, but it's still not enough. And both sides would be better off moving on. That's my opinion on it. I think that both sides are better off moving on. I'm thinking Zach and a late day 3 pick for essentially a pick swap. So Zach and a 6th for a 5. Zach, maybe... Can we dream? Could it be Zach? Well, the Jets don't have a 5, so that's annoying. I was going to say Zach and a 5 for a 4, but the Jets don't have a 5. I forgot because they have 2 4th-round picks. I don't think you're getting Zach and a 4th for a 3rd. So I think probably best case scenario is Zach Wilson and a 6th for a 5, and you end up moving up, we'll say, like 28 draft slots, and they take on Zach Wilson as a project. So who knows? We'll see what happens there, but got some info out of Joe Douglas. He never really gives you a whole lot. That was expected, but these, in my opinion, were the biggest takeaways from Joe Douglas speaking. Let me know your biggest takeaways from Joe Douglas's press conference down below in the comments. Once again, I am Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you guys next time.